Today, we are going to be doing a 1 hour course on how to build and automate anything with GPT 5.6. So let's just get straight into it. If you're not familiar with ChatGPT or GPT 5.6 itself, this is a new model that just dropped. And you can see an example of it right here in our drop down. So you can go to chatgpt.com to get access. And then if you click on this drop down over here, select model, you can switch between GPT 5.6 and you can also switch between different models. So, for example, you got GPT 5.6 Soul, you have Pro, Extra High, High, Medium, Instant, etc. Instant is actually an old version, as you can see. So that is GPT 5.5. And that's exactly how to get access to GPT 5.6. We will come on to stuff like Codex in a second, but that's essentially how to prompt it. Now, when you're using ChatGPT like this is basically just like a back and forth, very basic chat. Now, ChatGPT itself has all sorts of powerful stuff that it can do. Let me show you an example. So, let's say, for example, we wanted to create content for our X account, right? Maybe that's something that you want to automate with ChatGPT. Well, what we could do, for example, is we could take all of my best performing content, like so from X, we can paste that into ChatGPT. So if we copy and then paste that over here. And then from here, what we can actually do is we can say, okay, create an X account or create an X post about, and then you just insert the topic that you're going to create content around. So let's say, for example, it's about the new GPT 5.6 Soul release. So what we can do here is automate our social media by creating an X post. And the way that we can do it is train the AI on content that we've created previously. And then from there, we can start creating the content itself. So we say create an a post about the new GPT-6 Soul release. Use a similar style to below. You don't need to format anything when you're pasting it in here. Like the AI is automatically going to understand everything. So then what we need to do is just make sure that we switch to the right model. So I'm going to use GPT 5.6 Soul for this. I'm just going to use medium, right? We're going to use medium with GPT 5.6 Soul. All right. And then from here, we can just click Command and Enter if you're on a Mac, and then it will actually send the post. Now you can see it also has access to the web. So the great thing about this is if we're posting about something new and interesting, when we're doing this, essentially, we are teaching the AI about content that we've previously created. And this could be for research, it could be for content, it could be for emails, whatever you want to automate. And then from here, we have the post itself generated, like you can see. And then we have the previous research that's done. So what it's actually done is search the web based on the latest research that's just come out about this model. And so we have the content automated over here, and then we have the social media post over here. Pretty powerful. And so now we can actually automate content in my exact style just by training it on previous data that we've had. From here, we can either edit the post, so we can edit it, and you can actually ask for changes. So you could say, okay, make this more punchy, make this more direct, make this more interesting, and you can copy this and paste it over to Twitter if you want, or wherever you're going to post social media content. You can go full screen on the editor if you want to as well, and then you can X and close that off as well. Now, from here, you'll see how it adds hashtags, which is kind of annoying. It shouldn't have done that really, but we can just delete that and edit it before we post it. Then, if we wanted to create a social media post, we can just go over to X like so. And let's say, for example, I wanted to create a post about this one. I can just click over here and we can click on quote. Then I can paste in the content that we have, and that is pretty much ready to go. It's in my exact same style. There's some things I would probably be aware of, like for example, you can see this hyphen that I would never personally use, but it's written in my style and it's completely automated in a couple of clicks using this system. So you can see how easy it is to automate content itself using GPT 5.6. And that's exactly how to start using it straight away. You can also share conversations. So if you have a team, for example, then you can share everything that you've created with other people. So let's say, for example, we had a conversation like this. Maybe it's something funny you just want to share it with people. You can just click the share in the top right. You can also move that to a project, which we'll come to later. You can pin the chat, archive it, delete it, and you've got the whole setup right here. So pretty easy and simple to use, easy to set up, works really well. And again, GPT 5.6 just dropped. If you're not familiar with GPT 5.6, let me talk you through the benchmarks and everything else. So as of the time of recording this, this is 24 hours after it's dropped. So it dropped on July the 9th. And GPT 5.6 is the best model, the most intelligent model that's come out from ChatGPT recently. Now, when you're looking at announcements like this, you will get a bunch of benchmarks and you get a lot of like marketing hype as well. So I always like to test this stuff out myself. I wouldn't really listen to uh, anyone else when it comes to the benchmarks. And I would advise the same for you because, for example, you'll see quite often there's a huge difference between what people say and what actually is out there and what's in reality. So always test this stuff yourself. But so far from my own tests, I've actually seen the GPT 5.6 particularly Soul, is really, really good. There's another company called Anthropic and Claude, if you're not familiar with them, and they have a rival AI, and that is called Fable 5. Now, Fable 5 is considered the best available model out there for AI. With that model, you can basically get the best outputs possible out of all the models that I've tested. However, I would say that GPT 5.6 Soul is right up there. And if you're wondering, like, how does it compare? You can see the comparisons right here. So if we have a look at this, GPT 5.6 Soul is performing pretty well. There's also different effort levels with Soul. And so, for example, you could have it on Pro, Extra High, Medium, High, Instant, etc. Now, between these models, when you're using something like ChatGPT or even Codex, which again we'll come on to later, when you're using these models, the difference is that you can run out of tokens very quickly if you're using, for example, the Pro. And also the responses will get slower. So it's really a balance between what are you doing for that task? And you want to basically tailor the model that you select based on the task that you're creating content around. So, for example, if you are doing something that is just like a back and forth in the chat, you could even use GPT 5.5 for that on instant, and that's not a big deal, right? Whereas, for example, if you're coding out like some crazy SaaS tool, for example, we have an agent operating system for all our AI agents inside the AI Profit Boardroom. When you're creating something like that, you want the most powerful AI possible, right? You want it, at the highest level it can possibly be. Pro, I usually don't use, however, because it's just really slow when I've tested in the past. I might have changed recently, but I think sometimes that used to take like, 10 to 15 to 20 minutes to apply at times. So extra high is probably where you want in terms of the best output. So depending on what you're doing, adjust the level of effort that you are using. Now, when you look at charts like this as well, you'll see something called API cost. API cost is a different way of using ChatGPT. So if you are using ChatGPT directly here, instead of coding out with it and getting the API for it, then you don't pay per usage. You just have it all inside the plan that you have. So we can keep going from there. Now, one thing that I also say about ChatGPT as we go along is to get the full power out of a system like this, you wouldn't really use ChatGPT directly. However, I want to start with the beginning stuff and the fundamentals first, the simple stuff, and then we can move on to the more advanced stuff later. So if you're watching this and you're like, okay, I want to do more advanced stuff with it, we'll come on to that later. If you're a complete beginner, then we're at a good starting point. So this is some of the most powerful AI, some of the most powerful intelligence out there right now. What you also see is like a lot of interesting benchmarks. For example, long horizon is mentioned a lot. That's basically where you can give an agent a task and it can work for hours, if not days, on the same task and just carry on to completion until it's finally at the standard you want, which again we'll come on to later. You can do that inside Codex. So yeah, these are all the benchmarks. You got, for example, like Terminal Bench, you have Browse Comp, you have SEC Bench Pro, etc. And yeah, it's a really powerful system. You can also create beautiful websites with this. You can create like nice spirographs, interactive wave interference. These are all interesting ways of using AI as well. Let's have a look what else we got down here. Quite often as well, when you're running through all of the technical stuff here, it's really interesting to see the actual report and to see what sort of tests they did and how it works. And often you'll see when you're comparing models, comparison in a table that looks like this. And so these are basically relative models that are being compared. So you can see here that Sol is performing the best out of all of these. And when we compare these side by side, for example, you'll also see the Terra doesn't quite perform as well as Sol. And then Luna is the fast model that is cheaper, faster, but doesn't perform as well on benchmarks. But you can see that even Luna, which is the lowest spec model from GPT 5.6, is still outperforming GPT 5.5. So pretty powerful stuff. So these are professional benchmarks in terms of how it performs, for example, for like management consulting, agents last exam, artificial intelligence index. Then you have coding evaluations. Then you have the science and health, and then you have computer use agents as well. Now, computer use is basically where the agent can control your computer, which we'll come on to later. And then you have, for example, like security benchmarks, interesting stuff on self improvement, multimodal, academic, so like research related topics, tool use, and long context as well. So that's all the benchmarks. That's how it performs. Again, I would put it right up there in terms of being on par or just below Fable 5 from Claude. And then, for example, you have something like Gemini, which I would say is way behind. Gemini is from Google. That is another model. So we've covered how to use ChatGPT 5.6, how to choose the effort levels, what the models look like, what the three different models are. If you want to see more information on that, I actually have this website where we've broken it down step by step. So the way that I look at this is 5.6 is a solar system. There's three different models inside there. So you got Sol, the Sun, the flagship. That's the biggest, strongest, most expansive brain. And you want to use that for like the hardest, trickiest tasks, the stuff that requires the best levels of thinking. Then you have Terra, the Earth, the workhorse. This is balanced in the middle. So a lot of serious workflows can be done through this. And then you have Luna, which is small, fast, cheap, great for high volume stuff. A lot smaller as a model, a lot cheaper as a model, but great for getting like quick, instant answers. So that's basically how it works. Now, you might be wondering, okay, what sort of stuff can you build with this in general? Let me show you some of the things we actually built with Soul. So, for example, this was like an open world dragon game, as you can see. We also, for example, have this Doom game as well, so you can build out really nice games with it. I like to test it with games because when you're testing out a new model, it's really good to see, okay, how does it perform side by side versus other models? And we test and compare all this stuff on Goldie Bench. But then also, how does it look visually? What's the vibe like? What's the ambience like in the stuff that it codes out? And I think that's really useful to see because it gives you a quick sort of way that your brain can look at something and go, okay, right, that's great, that's terrible, sort of thing. So, what we can also do inside GPT 5.6 is we can also create images. So, for example, here, this is a prompt that I often use for generating images. And then, for example, we can say, okay, create an image of a cat eating cheese. And if you want to like make it more interesting, I use this prompt here to make it more interesting. So we have a basic prompt for creating a image, and then we have some ways that we can add, for example, exciting, fun, crazy words like these to make the image stand out more. And then also, if you want to generate multiple versions of the image that are very similar but slightly different, for example, slightly different colors or more contrasting or different titles, etc., then I use this prompt as you can see right here. Now, once we're happy with that, we can click enter and it will start thinking and generating the image. Now, the cool thing about generating images as well It kind of runs in a sandbox, which means like it runs in its own environment inside the cloud, which means like when you're doing this, basically when you're generating images, you can close the tab and then come back later to it. So if we add an image over here, I'm just going to put an example like this, add that in, plug this in, and generate the image. Now, you might be thinking, okay, is it GPT 5.6 that's creating the image? So it's a combination where it does the thinking and reasoning with GPT 5.6 or whatever you selected as a model, but then it's using something called Chat GPT Image 2.0 to generate the image itself. So the image itself is generated with that image model, but you can use 5.6 to prompt it and get better outputs. And I've noticed that there is quite a big difference when you use, for example, like GPT 5.6 versus GPT 5.5 for generating the images itself, because it's reasoning through the process, right? You can actually click on this bit here and it shows you the reasoning on the right hand side. So you can see what it's doing and what it's working on. Now, if you want to do two different workflows at the same time with GPT 5.6, then you can have a tab like this open, and then you can go to a new tab over here. And what you'll notice is if you click the plus sign on a new chat here, we can select between different apps and different workflows. So if we want to create an image, we can select that. If we want to search the web, we can do this. You can kind of use it like Google and you can say, okay, web search, search this, search that, blah, blah, blah. You can also do deep research. Now, deep research is not something that I usually use, honestly, at this point. I don't think it's that useful. But let's say, for example, you were trying to write a report. Well, then it could be very useful. If you were trying to create something very in depth and it's a one off task, or it's something where you need loads of sources, then you can use deep research combined with GPT 5.6. So, for example, if we type in deep research and we say, okay, research the latest trends or research the best methods for using Hermes agent for AI automation, what it's going to do is it's going to take quite a long time to generate that deep research report. It may ask us for more clarifications whilst it plans out what it's going to do over here. And then you can see here that it's actually creating a plan here that we can edit before we start doing the deep research. So when we're doing deep research with ChatGPT, we can see the plan before it gets started. Now, this is important to check. It will actually auto-complete if we don't do anything for 30 seconds. So you can see a countdown over here. We can cancel it, and we can also edit this. If we edit it, then it actually stops the counter. We can give it a follow-up plan over here to change the plan, and we can go from there. Now, if you're happy with the plan, if you're like, okay, I've read this, it looks pretty cool. Here's what it's going to do step by step. So it's going to survey official Hermes agent documentation, review the community tutorials, blah, blah, blah. Then we hit start, and that will actually start researching the background. And so what I like to do when I'm using GPT 5.6 and any sort of AI really is I like to just pin the tab, especially if you're on Chrome, minimize it so it doesn't get in the way of everything else I'm doing, and then we can move on to the next workflow. This is super useful because when I'm doing multiple workflows, I know, okay, the images might take like, sometimes 60 seconds to like 5 minutes to generate. So I'll just leave that running in the background. And then, for example, the research, well, that might take like 10, 15 minutes as well, minimum. So you can see it's gradually working through the checklist. It'll check everything off as it goes along. So when we're doing stuff like this, just you can leave it running in the background, come back to it later, pin the tab so it's easy to navigate to and you don't forget about it. And that way you can still get lots of stuff done, but you don't need to be distracted as you go along. Now you can also see here that we have multiple images generated from that previous prompt. And we can click this button to get it. We can share it with other people. We can change the aspect ratio. So whether it's, for example, like portrait, story, landscape, widescreen, etc. We can click through between each one. But if you look at these with that prompt that we generated before, with that prompt, it's quite easy to create beautiful images that look better than designers. I mean, for example, when I've used teams of designers, number one, they're never going to get the design done as quickly. And number two, it's not going to look as beautiful as this. And you see how it's like changed the colors, the layout, the styles, etc. Looks really nice. Well, the beautiful thing about that is that you can automate the sort of the way of testing different ideas in a way where you can come back to it later. You can get many different variations in different styles, pick through which one you like the most, and then you're good to go. And you could do that for portrait images or whatever. You can also comment on these as well, so you can add comments. I don't really use that so much. And then if we have a look, the deep research is being done in the background here. So you can see it's like doing loads of searches, like 119 sources searched, and that's in the space of like 2 or 3 minutes. We can also update this as well if we want to. And you see how it's ticked off the tasks it's done so far. That's really useful as well. So far, we have automated our social media. We have automated image creation. We've also automated the process of doing deep research. So that's a really cool way to use ChatGPT. Another way that you can get more out of GPT 5.6 is you can use projects and you can also pin stuff. So, for example, if we have a look over here, by default, this will be hidden. But if we click on open the sidebar, we can see our previous history of what we've done. We can also rename the conversations and we can pin our conversations too. Now we can close the chats here so we can tap on that. If we want to start a new chat, we can click on this. And then over here, we have our list of projects. So we can create a new project and go through anything that we want to whenever we want to. So for example, if we have a look here, we've got different conversations under different projects. At this point, you may be saying, okay, what is a project? A project is kind of like a way of organizing all your files and all your systems together with GPT 5.6. So if we have a look at the AI powered SOP machine, what this essentially does is it creates SOPs for my team, step by step instructions that I can train my team on. And so that's a great way to automate training resources. You could also, for example, automate courses. If you did a lot of images, well, you could actually have a folder specifically for images, and then you can come back to that project anytime you need to. So if we have a look at this project here, we can share it with other people. We can also rename it. We can switch between the sources, so we can add sources. And this is a way of adding training to the AI so it understands everything about you and what you're trying to do. It adds context. Because, for example, if you just use ChatGPT straight out of the box, it doesn't understand a lot about you. It doesn't know what you're working on. It doesn't know, for example, your brand, your voice, your projects, your businesses, your goals, your websites. There's a lot of information it doesn't have by default. And so when you add these sources and you upload, for example, we've added our sales training over here, then by understanding that, it can create better SOPs in the future. It can better understand who we are. It can use that as context to create better setups in the future. The same, for example, with that social media setup that I showed you before. With that social media process that we created earlier, well, we can actually use that in the future to make sure that we have a project where we can automate social media content whenever we want to. So we've got the chats, we've got the sources, very simple. And then over here, if we click the 3 dots, we can click on project settings. So we can change the name and we can add custom instructions to this. So when we're adding custom instructions to the AI here, what you're essentially doing, and we can drag that down so we can see the full set of instructions. What you're doing essentially is training the AI on how to respond every time you use it. Now, you might say, okay, but why don't I just prompt it every time? Or why don't you use those prompts every time? The problem with that is that when you're reprompting over and over again, you could waste like 20% of your time just retraining the AI on exactly how to do stuff. And that is quite time consuming, it's quite draining, and it's more efficient doing it this way, where you have the instructions inside a project that's ready to go whenever you come back. You can also change the memory over here, and you can change what it has access to as well. And then you can change the name. You can also add like a color and emoji to that project as well, so it's easy to navigate. Then you can change the effort level just like normal, and you can switch the models as well over here. You can see previous conversations inside that project, and that's basically how to set up a project. Now, you also have something similar to that called the custom GPT. So if we go to more and then GPTs over here, you can see that this is basically like a whole different market of AI automations ready to go straight out of the box. And if we have a look, for example, at the Scholar GPT, just as an example here, we can start a chat with it so we can use other people's automations and then we can use this for better research. So this one is specifically for research and that sort of thing. And we can create a new chat. We can pin this so we save it for later. We can review it as well. So we can leave a review for it and we can chat with it as well. What you also see when you're using this is that you can switch between the thinking effort and you can also add files. So if you want to add like files that give the AI context, let's say, for example, I'm creating a research paper for this Scholar GPT and I'm like, right, okay, well, here's the brief of the project. Based on that brief, make sure that you create better research. So there's just so many things you can do with this. It's pretty much endless with GPTs and these sort of things. And you can search through for anything you want. So if you do a lot of SEO, for example, you can search for SEO over here and it will search the marketplace for SEO related automations. If we click on my GPTs, I've actually created loads of GPTs that are custom made. And I can see how many people have actually had a chat with it, how many people have used it, how often they use it, and who can access it. So we could create a custom GPT over here. We could call that social media content. And then over here, we could give it custom instructions on how to respond. So we could say, for example, write short, punchy, direct. You can get as detailed as you want. And you can actually test it over here before you make it go live. Then you can add more instructions. You can add a description of what it is. And also you can add conversation starters over here. So if you add a conversation starter, it could be like automate or write a new social media post. And then we can add knowledge inside the GPT as well. So we're building our own automation that we can come back to, bookmark, we can share with our team, share with the world. And this can automate anything. It could be automating social media. It could be automating research. It could be writing instructions for your team. It could be just generating nice images. Right? So as an example of this, if we went to my X account and we use this for training so that my AI understands how to create content for me, I can paste that in over here. And then we can use this as a training so that our AI understands exactly how we write. So now I can say, okay, based on the knowledge that you have, right? Social media posts so that I can automate them quickly in my style. I'll give you the topic, you do the research and create the post for me, right? Now, from here, we can also change the model. So we could switch the model to GPT 5.6, as you can see. So we can switch over here. And then we can change its capabilities. So we could say, okay, it's got web search, it's got canvas, so we can edit the outputs, it's got image generation if we wanted to create the outputs as well. And now we've got a custom trained GPT that we can use to automate images. Now, for me personally, if I had more time, I would probably spend about 5 minutes crafting the instructions here because I know if I get it right once, then in the future, it's going to save me more and more time. The better it is, the more likely I am to use it. So we can click create over here in the top right, and we can share this. So we can say, okay, only me has access, or anyone with the link has access, or we can even add it to the GPT store. It's kind of like the iPhone App Store, except that instead of creating an app, you're creating a custom GPT, which is an AI automation you're sharing with the world. Pretty nice. So if we click on anyone with the link, anyone with the link can now access that post to create social media content. Now, on the right-hand side here, we can test it. And then if it's not very good, then we can iterate it later. So whilst that's saving, you could be thinking about, okay, let's test it with a couple of posts and let's go from there. Now you'll see that it gives you the link to open that GPT. And this is the view mode. So before we had the edit mode, this is the view mode. So if we go inside this chat here and we're like, okay, create a social media post about GPT 5.6 Soul, right? It's going to search through the knowledge that we trained it on a second ago. It's going to search through the web and get the research as well because we enabled that. And then we've got the whole post here and it's written it based in my exact style. Pretty nice headline as well. That is classic Julian Goldie style headline, to be honest. Then we've got the bullet points over here and we have a nice little setup here, as you can see. And then we can copy it. And again, you can post that to X or whatever you want to do. So That is GPT 5.6. We've talked about projects. We have talked about automations, how to build your own custom automation, share them with the world, how to generate images, how to use the chat, etc. One thing that I would say inside the chat as well, this is something that helps me a lot, is there's going to be some conversations where you're like, do you know what? I need that conversation. I need to come back to it a lot. As an example of that, I've got one where I actually use voice mode and I chat with the AI in Italian, and we just go back and forth so that I can learn a bit more Italian and that sort of thing. And so what I can do is I can pin that. We can pin that, and then we can come back to it later. So it's kind of like a bookmark, but it's a bookmark for GPT, so that I can easily navigate and find stuff that I want to use later. Now over here, you can see the scheduled tasks, right? These scheduled tasks, these are ways of basically scheduling a task and then coming back to it later. Now, you might say, why would you do that? Well, let's say, for example, there's something you do every single day. Could be, for example, like posting a blog. If you do that every single day, you might as well automate it and then have it run in the cloud so that you can come back to it later. Now, they have a bunch of examples and templates that you can use right here. And then over here, you can schedule a task for later. So you could say, okay, every day, 2:45 a.m., do some deep research for me so that when you wake up, the deep research is already done and you don't need to wait for all that time for this to be available. And so you could schedule in tasks, run in the cloud, like having a 24 assistant, and then you can come back to it later. You can also do voice mode with GPT as well. So if you click on the voice mode here, this has improved substantially, I would say, over the last week. They just had a big update inside OpenAI and ChatGPT for voice mode, which means you can get way more out of it as well. What that means essentially is like smarter responses, faster responses, and it works way better. I'll give you an example. So when I used to tell it to test me in Italian, I'd have to ask it twice every time. It didn't make any sense, right? Whereas now, for example, when I'm using this system, it's quite easy because it would just test me straight away. I don't have to retrain. It's just more intelligent when you use it. And we've got the schedule tabs over here. We can come back to it. We've also got a separate tab for work and for chat as well. This depends on what account you're on. So whether you're on like a personal or a workspace account. So we've got the schedule task there. Then we also have plugins. Now with plugins, you can basically connect ChatGPT to external apps. So why is that useful? Well, let's say for example you wanted to work across Google Drive and take the outputs that you have and plug them into Google Drive. You can install the Google Drive plugin, and from there you can use it later. So let's say for example we were talking about blog posts before. With blog posts, it could be like, right, okay, schedule this task every day where you write a blog post for SEO about my topic and then plug it into Google Drive for me. So if we click on install plugin over here, we can connect to Google Drive. As you can see, we can select the Google Drive they want to connect to. So I'm just going to connect to that in the background. We're going to give it access to that now. And that is how easy it is to connect Google Drive to ChatGPT. Perfect. Now, if we type in Google Drive, we can work across it. We could say, okay, create a new blog post about SEO, just as a random example. And now it will start coming back to us. And it will say, I'll create a polished Google Doc with an SEO focused blog post, clear headings, practical steps, and a strong CTA. So you can see an example right here. Now, also, when you're using something like ChatGPT, you're going to find like it makes mistakes and you're going to find ways to get better outputs from ChatGPT in general. So if you look at the prompt that we had earlier, which is this one, this is a nice prompt for generating images. When we're using this prompt, very in depth, very specific in terms of how to use it. Now, basically, every time I find a mistake when I'm using ChatGPT, I will then change the prompt and save the prompt for later so that I can come back to it. And every time it makes another mistake, we'll improve it again and again and again and again until by the 10th or the 15th time of improving that prompt, it's actually really, really good. And it's a custom template we've got ready to go. So the way that I would recommend saving that for later, and this saves me a lot of time. So for example, if I type at, and then we have a prompt like this, it can easily type that out automatically. You might be wondering how I do that. So I actually use something called Text Expander. Text Expander is great for just saving my prompts for later. And then I've got them as shortcuts ready so that I don't have to type them out or copy and paste them from a document. It's like I'm in the chat, boom, let's just type that one word out and we've got it ready to go. And so inside Text Expander, you can save your prompts, you can add a new snippet like so, and you're good to go on that, right? That's how easy it is. Would definitely recommend using that. So you can see now that it's created the Google Doc in the background. As you can see here, we can open up and boom shakalaka, we have a Google Doc with the whole blog post in it ready to go. And so the great thing about this is you can link ChatGPT, so it actually does work in the real world, not just inside this tiny little sandbox that is a ChatGPT conversation. So you can link everything together, you can get it working together. It's quite easy to set up, and it doesn't take a long time, which I think is way more powerful than anything else that you can do with this system. Now, from here, we've created images, we've created tasks, we've linked it to apps, we've created custom GPTs, we've learned how to use a voice mode, we learned how to pin conversations to save them for later, and you also learned how to create custom projects, custom GPTs, schedule tasks in the cloud, etc. You also have the library here where anything you create you can come back to later. Honestly, I don't like it that much simply because I think it's quite hard to come back to and it's kind of annoying and that sort of thing. But if you want to check it out, you can. And it's got like your files and the images and everything else you've created. Then you can search across chats over here. And from there, we are going to start moving through to Codex. And Codex is where you're going to level up massively, my friends, because really you've only tasted about 10% of the power of GPT 5.6. With Codex is a much more powerful way to use agents essentially. So if you look at ChatGPT, it is literally a conversation. It's like a chatbot that's just very, very smart, and it can link to apps and everything else, and that's great. But you can get so much more out of all of this when you start understanding how to use Codex. So you can get it, as you can see right here, and you can just download it and then install it once you're ready with that. Once you've done that, you can use Codex, as you can see over here. Now, with Codex, this is a way of using GPT 5.6 in a system where you can code and build anything out. So, like we were talking about before, you've got these custom projects over here, and you can actually set up a new project anytime you want. So, if we click on New Task over here, and then we are going to give it access to a folder like so. And we can change the folder over here. So we can switch between all of these different guides, folders, everything else. So if we click on that project, for example, we're good to go on there. Now, you've also got something called sites. So sites allows you to take your idea and turn it into a website just by typing in the prompt. So if we have a look at this one, this is a website that we've created inside the sites tab, and we can share it, we can preview it, etc. So if we click on the share button here, we can click on like that, like so. Publish it, wait for it to publish. It will take a couple of minutes. And then we can copy and share that with anyone as well. So we'll come on to all this and exactly how to use it in a second. So let's delete that. And also what you'll see when you're using Codex is you can switch between ask for approval, approve for only me, or full access. If you want to play it really safe and you don't like, a lot of people will watch this and be like, okay, I don't want some agent taking over my computer. That is totally fine. So the way that you can avoid the agent doing anything you don't want is you can set up ask for approval. And then every time it wants to edit something or use the internet, you approve it and you give it permission. So you control all the permissions. If you do approve for me, this only asks for actions detected as, for example, destructive. That could be editing a file, that could be deleting a file, that sort of thing. And then we have full access. So this is unrestricted access to any file on your computer because I'm very comfortable with doing this. I'm going to go with full access because it will speed up my project. But if you don't want to do that, you can just select ask for approval. And then from here, we can select a new project. So we can say, okay, let's start from scratch or let's use an existing folder. So we're going to start from scratch and we're going to create a new project in Codex where we'll build something cool out in a second. So from here, we're going to type in, okay, let's create a website for the AI Profit Boardroom community. And whatever project you want to build, you can build with this. You can also switch between local and cloud. So with cloud, this will actually work in a sandbox in the cloud. If you select local, this will work locally on your computer. Sandbox in the cloud means like it can't work or have access to your local files. It's going to create something in the cloud. You can access it later. So that's kind of like a safer way to work, where you work in a cloud environment. And then working locally, it works directly on your computer. You can also see how much usage you have remaining. So how much usage you have left to use, which is great. This is good because then you can see how many tokens you've used. And the more you use AI and the more powerful the workflow and the more detailed the instructions you give it, etc., the higher the effort levels you use, all those things use up tokens. And the more tokens you use up, the less the less time you can actually use it for. You're going to get less out of your subscriptions. So I'm going to go working with locally. We've made sure we've got Sol selected. If you want something really smart, then you can go with Sol extra high. If you want medium, you can go with that. If you want something like really instant, you can actually toggle this and it will switch between the different models of uh, 5.6. So you can see, for example, Terra is light. If we switch to medium, then it's automatically set up to use the model Sol. So you don't need to switch between the models. It's just automatically set up for you, depending on whether you want faster or smarter. Which one do you want? And again, you'll use usage limits faster if you select smarter. So we can just go with medium, as you can see right here. You can also go to advanced and then you can actually change the model and everything else. But for most people, if you're watching something like this, you're probably just going to go with the defaults. You can also switch between fast and standard, so how fast you want it to reply. Now, obviously, if you select fast, it's going to move 50% faster, but at the same time, it will use more tokens. So again, you see how like when you're using stuff like this, you want to be efficient when you're using it. If you are not efficient, you will run through tokens in a way that uses up a lot of tokens and usage and that sort of thing. So from here, what we are going to do now is we are going to start typing in our project. So if we say, okay, create a beautiful website for the AI Profit Boardroom, we'll just hit enter as an example. And you can see that it gives us the details of the environment. It's now going to plan out what it's going to create. It's going to use different skills depending on what we want to build with. And I can come on to skills later. And then it's going to start coding that out. Now, the cool thing about this is it can run later. So what this means is it can run in the background when we switch between tasks. So if I switch over here, guess what? That agent is still working in the background, which is fantastic. And also we can pin projects. So if you have certain projects you always come back to, you can pin them. If you are coding locally and you want to see the actual files themselves that have been generated, you can click on Review on Finder. It'll take you directly to the website. If you click on Allow, you see how it just asked me for permissions there? I'm going to allow it so it can edit stuff and see that sort of thing. Now you can see it's asking for details. So just to save time here, what I'm actually going to do is just paste in the information from this page so that it's fully trained on exactly what we want. So put here's the full details, and then it's trained on what we want to do and everything else. We can also chat with ChatGPT in the background as well. So the cool thing about this is that we can have a project here that we're coding with, but then we can also use the chat history from ChatGPT, see our recent chats over here. So for example, when we created that blog post a second ago, it's over here. So all our previous chats are right there from ChatGPT. So if you're like, oh, I want to use the functionality of ChatGPT inside Codex, you've got it over here, and you can see your view. You can view your chat history. You can see where we created the cat with cheese, etc., and we can minimize that whenever we want to. Now you can see the timer has started, so it shows us how long it's been working for, what it's building out, and how it's growing from here. And then that is our project being built in the background. Now we also have For example, if we close that, we have the pull requests feature here. This is more for GitHub. For most people watching this, you probably don't need that. But if you do want to sync your projects to GitHub, you can set up GitHub over here. And then in the bottom left, you'll see your name and your profile. Over here, you can see your usage. You can see how much usage you've used. You can also reset your usage too. And that basically just gives you an idea of, okay, how much have we used? How many tokens have we used? And this just counts down. So it shows you, for example, I've got 99% of my usage left to use. We have a pet that we can use at any time. So, for example, with the pet, we can see what's being worked on and we can click back to the conversation. So, all the stuff that's being done in the background, we can use with the pet. So, if we click on that, we can see what it's doing. If we click on create the boardroom, we can see, okay, we can go straight back to that. So it's just an easy way to see what it's working on and then also to navigate back to chats. So if I was working on 5 projects, we'd have 5 pop-ups here with the names of each project. And also you can see the circle here is buffering. So we can come back to this later and see what it's working on. So we have that working in the background. And then we have the site section here to create websites. So you can turn your ideas into websites and that sort of thing. If you want to create a new site, you can just click on create a website app. As you see, if you click on sites, create in the top right, then you can say, okay, create a website that, and you just give it your idea. So it's like, okay, create a website that tracks my habits day to day, for example. Let's type that in. Then if we hit enter, that is now going to create a whole system for sites that we can use later. And then if we go back to sites, we will see the project being coded out in the background as well, which is pretty useful. Now, then we have the plugins. So just like we talked about before, plugins. And one thing that I think is fantastic here, is really, really cool to use, is that we can actually use computer use. So if we go to plugins over here, and then we click on the featured, we can click through and see what's being done, see all our apps, and see what we're working on and everything else. So I've got everything that we've installed at the top. So for example, Google Drive, GitHub, all these other ones. And then anytime we want to use one of these plugins, we can click on try it now. What this means essentially is like you can have multiple different plugins being used. You can use the power of like a coding agent, which is what we're using right now to create everything that we want. And we can use the power of computer use as well to test this out. So if I say to computer use, okay, go to google.com and type in hello. And you see how we're working inside the same project here. And it says I'm using computer use skill because this task requires operating the browser UI directly. And so we can see that that is beginning to use the skill of navigating the website. Now what it's going to do is request permissions. So it's requesting permissions to be able to look at my screen and give me access. And we can see that it's working in the background over here. So it's navigated over. So what this means essentially is that it's loaded the tool, it's run through what it's going to do, and it's beginning now to use computer use. So you can get your AI to do stuff in the background. So we can see that it's navigated to Google over here. And now you can see this is not me controlling. I'm not using my hands, but it's typed hello into Google for us and it's completed the task. And the cool thing is, well, you see how we enabled that pet before? The pet, even if we navigate the website, we can see what codex is using in the background. This is really useful because basically if I need to like go off and do something else, when I've got that coding agent working in the background, I can see all of the previous conversations over here and I can click through to them. And so no matter what I'm doing, whether it's inside Chrome or inside any other app, I can see what Codex is doing in the background and I can come back to it later. This is also super useful because some of these tasks are going to take like 5, 10, 20 minutes to do. So how do you get a notification that it's done? Well, you can look in the top, in the bottom right at the pet, and then just click on them and go through to them over there. Really, really useful stuff. So if we have a look now, it's prepared the directions, it's given us some ideas, and it said, okay, should we go with build 1, 2, or 3? I'm going to go with 3. And then it's going to start building that out, as you can see here. It's like, great choice. Let's build that bad boy out. And then we've got the habit tracker website being built out as well over here. And you might be thinking, okay, is this just for creating websites? Literally no. This you can create this with anything. Let me show you an example of what we've created recently. So we have this Agent OS dashboard that links all of our agents together. We even have GPT 5.6 built into the system. And so what we can do with this is we can use all of our agents together inside one beautiful dashboard. We can link it together with the memory system. And this is a SaaS tool that I've basically built out, shared with my AI Profit Boredom community. You can basically automate and build anything. Really powerful stuff. But the great thing about this is that I'm not a coder. But we're at the point now where if you're using Claude or if you're using Codex, whatever idea you have in your head, you can now build. That could be an app, that could be a game, landing page, could be a tool, could be all of those. And you just build them out in the morning and you just tell it what you want to do. You might say, okay, does it work like magic? You still want to test it. You still want to make sure that it actually works. You still want to test and iterate because the first version you get back is never going to be perfect. But if you keep doing that every day, number one, your skills at using AI, which is probably the most important skill to learn in 2026, are going to improve. And then number two, you're going to get better outputs the more you test the projects you use, and you'll learn how to build better projects based on what you learn along the way. So this is the website that's being built over here. We have the other section over here as well. And then if we go over to plugins, we've got all of our different plugins. You can also search for different stuff here. So an example of a really agentic workflow could be like, okay, well, I want you to create a blog post and then I want to link it to my website and publish it directly to my website as well for me. We've also got schedule tasks here. So in the same way that you can schedule tasks on ChatGPT, you can also schedule them inside Codex. But the difference is that Codex is much more powerful because it can edit files locally. It can, for example, code stuff out for you. It could work with other apps in the background. And so this can run 24/7 as an AI agent and do things without you. So, for example, it could be like, okay, publish content to my website every single day for SEO based on what we're already ranking on. And then you don't need to log into your website. You don't need to have a team of editors anymore. You've just got Codex doing all the hard work in the background for you, which is pretty unbelievable. So let's check out where we're up to with the Habit Tracker website. What you're also going to see is that it creates images. So it can create images for us. It can code for us, and it's basically taking like all the best features of ChatGPT, using them agentically in a system like this, and then we can see everything that's being built, and it saves it locally to your computer. It's quite different as well to ChatGPT because ChatGPT, like, it doesn't link or edit anything directly on your computer. This does. This is working 24/7 on your computer. It can control your browser, and it kind of just steps out the confines of a little conversation with ChatGPT. So that's basically some of the best workflows right here. So we've talked about the chat, the sites, the pet, the plugins, schedule tasks. You can create new tasks anytime you want. You can see everything that's being built in the background. Super useful. So it's now building out the website as well. And what you'll see on the right hand side here is that we have the changes that have been made, if anything has been made. And then we also have this sidebar here. So any files that you have, you can view on the right hand side. Then you have this little environment feature, and then you have in the middle the chat itself. So if we click on this, we can see that we're working locally. You can change this as well. We can see our usage, and we can also see our sub agents. So we have 3 sub agents working. We have one for design, one for design command, and one for design modern as well. We can see what's running in the background. So these are terminal commands. So obviously this is a coding agent. It's using the terminal to code. But the great thing is you don't need to worry about the coding yourself. It's just doing this all yourself. It's all doing this for you. So what this means essentially is like there is no technical barrier to creating anything that you want anymore. Now, before you make something project or production ready, you might want to get like a team of developers to check it out for you. But there's nothing stopping you from creating your own projects without a team of coders or developers. There's really, I mean, in the same way that I was talking about how the workflows for content creation basically replace a marketing team, the workflows for images replace a designer team, and the workflows that we've got here for coding replace developers. And so if you look at all the systems that ChatGPT have built, it's quite scary because a couple of years ago I had a big team And now what I see is that we're actually like reducing the amount of team that we have. We're hiring less and less every week, especially those sort of like menial admin tasks. We're just replacing every single week with AI. And the difference is that AI doesn't take weekends off, it doesn't sleep, doesn't get tired, doesn't make the same mistakes as often, doesn't require retraining as often, doesn't complain, and there's no drama, right? So it's much easier to manage a team of agents that are just chilling in the background doing a bit of code whilst I'm talking to you versus having a team of people who, you know, can be quite energy draining and quite time consuming to manage, honestly. So this is the way the world's going, my friends. It's a scary place to be in, but you can see how it's working and how you can use all of this. Now it is saving the site over here. So that's basically it. That is Codex in a nutshell with ChatGPT, GPT 5.6, how to use it, how to get the most out of it, how to build with it, how to make it run faster, how to code locally, even if you're a non-coder. And you've basically gone from like zero and no knowledge to being able to build and automate anything that you want. Now, one final thing that I want to show you is what else you can do with this. So, for example, Codex can also create videos for you. Let me show you an example of that. So, there's a skill in the same way that we installed Google Drive before. You can actually take a skill from GitHub, like you see here. So, this is Remotion. And with Remotion, you can teach Codex to be able to create videos for you. So if we take this skill, for example, this setup here, and we're just going to go to Remotion on GitHub, and there's tons of skills like this, but this is just one example. We can go over to Codex here, and we can train it with a new task on how to create videos. So I can say, okay, based on this skill, create a video about the AR profit boarding for our website. So we can hit enter like so, and that's going to start creating the video now too. So it's going to now start using Remotion, and it's actually already got a pre-built skill for hyperframes as well. So it's going to use a combination of Remotion and hyperframes, which are both video skills you can teach your agent so that it understands how to create videos for you. And then this will just start creating a video in the background. In the meantime, we have the website being done over here, and we can review it. We can also open up the website and we can share it. So if we click on open, you can see that our website is ready to go. We just got to sign in. Now we're going to log in, as you can see, and we'll start checking this out. And here is our website, built, designed, fully automated. It created the UI, created the page, created the whole system, built it out step by step, and that was super easy. And if you're like, okay, I want it to be red, no problem. Go back into Codex and ask it to do that. You might be like, right, okay, I want it to have a video at the top. No problem. Give it the details of the video and tell it what you want inside the chat. Anything that you want to change, you can, no problem at all. And then you can open it inside your favorite app. You can share it with people. You've got all the assets, everything else. And if you want to actually view the folder itself, you can just click on Reveal and Finder. Boom shakalaka, you have the video. You have the folder itself there. If you want to publish this, you can actually use something like Netlify. And Netlify is a web hosting website. So, for example, if we have a look at the aiprofitboardroom.com, I've never logged into this website. I don't even know how to. But my AI hosted it on Netlify, deployed it to a custom domain, and has my personal access token for Netlify so that it can publish everything that we create as well. And that is it, my friends. That's pretty much it. We are at the end of the course. What else can we do? I want to just show you one final thing, which is the video that I've created previously using GPT 5.6. So if you want to see more tests and more things of what we built, you can just go to the leaderboard at Goldie Bench. This is my benchmark for all the stuff that we've created with each model, and we've tested each one. So we built out 50 different projects as soon as GPT 5.6 dropped. And if you scroll down, you can see that we have this video promo here. So this video was fully created with an AI agent. You can also give it access to your AI avatar. If you've got an avatar, for example, on HeyGen, it can add your face and voiceover to it too. And this video was fully automated using a combination of Codex and Remotion. It looks beautiful, nice design, sleek, interesting, looks better than any of my editors could create, beautiful animations, and again, it replaces the need for a video editor. So you can see how Codex one by one is replacing everything that we do in pretty much every single job. And you might say, okay, what's left for us? Or, fast forward 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, what's left for us? I would say you're going to see the biggest difference between those who win with AI and those who don't is the ones who actually implement everything that I've shown you today. And then also, it really comes down to the idea. I think the idea is everything. So, for example, every time that I get feedback from someone inside the AI Profit Boarding community, or they're asking me to build something or improve something, then I go into our agent operating system here and I just edit it. I change it. I make it better. I improve it. I add something new in. And so it's really about the idea. And the way that I would look at this is you analyze all the problems that you have, all the frustrations that you or your customers have, and you start building those things out with Codex. So, for example, one of the biggest problems that my community had was that they were using all these agents and they didn't know how to link them together. So we solved that with the agent OS. And then, for example, a lot of business owners inside the community, they wanted to automate lead generation. So we built out a system that generates leads, sends emails, manages the inbox, and writes a whole email campaign. We also had a lot of people who were like, do you know what? I want to create videos like you, Julian, but I don't want to spend loads of time creating them. No problem. We'll create the video agent for you. So you can just type in a prompt and create whatever you want. And then a lot of other people are like, well, okay, I need my agents to understand me, my business, my goals across every single agent that I use. No problem at all, mate. We'll build out the memory system. So like every single problem that you face or find, I would start solving it with Codex or with Claude, because we're at the point now where that is all we can do. We're living in a world where everything that can be automated is being automated. Everything that we do as humans is being replaced by AI, particularly anything that's behind a desk. I mean, you saw how smooth and easy it was to use Codex to control our computer and type for us and do anything else. So, if you want to get more training on this sort of stuff, feel free to get it inside the AI Profit Boarding. Link in the comments and description. Thank you very much for watching all the way through to this point. Inside the classroom, you can get our Agent OS system that I just showed you. So if you want that full system, you get it here. We update it daily, new video tutorial, new guide, zip file to install it. We add new daily guides, as you can see. So for example, a lot of people right now want to use AI more, but they run out of tokens because they're creating so much cool stuff. So what we have here is a token minimization playbook. You can also ask questions inside the community, get help and support in real time, and we help you as much as we possibly can. I actually create a video tutorial every day answering all the questions personally that we have inside the community. And then inside the calendar, you can jump on with coaching calls, ask questions, get help and support, share your screen, etc. Inside the classroom, if you're a complete beginner, you can go from beginner to expert over here. And if you like stuff like this, we have loads of courses, loads of trainings inside the classroom as well. Inside the map, you can meet people in your local area, and you can connect with people using tools like Codex and the Agent OS. And if you're wondering, okay, what are people's experience with this sort of stuff? So we actually have 196 pages of testimonials of wins of people growing and learning with AI automation using the systems inside the AI Profit Boardroom and just having a great time learning on this journey. So feel free to get it. Link in the comments description, or just go to the AIProfitboarding.com. Thanks for watching. Who we got here? Thoughts on Google AI Studio? Um, I think the best for UI is probably Fable 5, honestly. Josiah, hey, Julian, good to see you live. Thank you very much for joining, sir. Samuel, hi. Questions. So I have Pro on Claude. Do I switch to GPT now because of GPT 5.6? That's a personal preference. For me personally, I'm going to stick to Claude with Fable 5. But if GPT 5.6 is available on the subscription, you don't have to pay anything extra, then I may gradually switch over to Claude. And I think a lot of people will do that as well. If you can only pick one, I would go with Claude. Spanish. School in Spanish. Not something we have right now, I'm afraid. My Spanish is okay, but it's if you saw any of my Italian before, then it's not ready for that level yet. Who else we got here? Empower. Feels good to be back here. huge updates this week. GPT 5.6 Soul is working awesome. I didn't check yet Luna or Terra. I haven't really used those that much so far, but yeah, much prefer Soul. Hi, brother. What is the Agent OS? We've shown you that so far. How do you create content so fast, bro? Check out the Air Profit Boarding. We got a full 6 week course on how to create content. AI Julian helps a lot as well, for sure. Fire, what's it like with big work? Yeah, Soul is very good. So, and Doc says, thank you so much for the things you share with us. It's really helping me. Thank you so much as well. Christian says he's real. Thanks, mate. Love your content. Best and most insane. Hilarious. Christian, you legend, mate. And then IT says, I have an idea for you. I saw you have AI version of yourself. Well, you can actually do that on YouTube, right? YouTube has the different translations for you automatically. They come after like 24 hours. So if you don't even need to create separate content in a different language, like YouTube actually automatically changes it for you. All right, I'm just going to take a little break, peeps. That was a long one. Just did a full 1 hour course, no stop, on how to use Codex. Beat says, thank you, Julian. Lots of love from Uganda. I'm building SaaS for resume and cover letters builder. Nice, nice. Can you recommend on the best way to have realistic documents? What do you mean by that? Realistic documents. Christian says, I'm looking not just for clients, but a job. Any suggestions on roles? I think something like AI, if you're a specialist at AI, a lot of companies need a AI specialist. So I would start there. If I had a choice between everything, I would go with that. I think that's fantastic. I think as well that might be the only job that lasts at this rate, from what we saw from Codex. So let's see, but yeah. 1 second. All right, peeps. I'm going to take a little break. Be back in a second, my friends. Who else we got here? Latitude, keep up the great work, very educational. Thanks very much, Christian. Let me get those steps in. And not sure about the second part, but I mean the AI really good, isn't it? From China. I mean it's not nowhere near the same level as Fable 5, but pretty good. Like GLM 5.2, it's a good alternative to Opus 4.8 for sure. How about you? What's your thoughts on it? Sooner closer. The pet from Codex. Nemo Claw, do you mean? Or what's that? China is ahead. Interesting. Yeah, Nemo Claw. Nvidia one. Nemo. Never heard of it. Who does Nemo come from? There we go. Thank you. Yeah, we'll keep doing it. We'll keep doing it. Appreciate that. Ah, yeah, Nematron already tested. It's okay. But yeah, I've got videos on Nematron already. If you want to check it out, and also how to use free APIs too. Ah, yeah. I mean, Nematron is just it's average at best, I would say. I got Claude to create my own code of Obsidian. Works perfectly without the need for me to use it. Nice. Any workflow suggestions to grow social media? Yeah, we have loads, but I mean, if you saw the codex automations before, that's one of the examples we use for social media. And then also, we've got a full section inside the app of Warning on like how to use avatars, and really powerful for us. Would recommend. What's the best way to get the most out of Fable if you have unlimited tokens for a few days? Not a hypothetical question. Well, I mean, I would look at all the problems that you have and then try and automate each one with Fable 5. So, for example, whatever you spend your time on, those are the best opportunities to automate with Fable 5 and build something cool. So, for example, if someone spends a lot of time doing link building for SEO, then they should focus on automating that with Fable 5. If, for example, they spend a lot of time creating content, then focus on building the automation for content. So, whatever you have problems with or your customers have problems with, just try and solve all of them by building something with Fable 5. Not sure what you mean by that, but feel free to expand on that, Hawk. Wasn't quite sure on that one. Yeah. So we actually have a system inside the agent OS that, well, we have several systems that evaluate with loops exactly what the AI did, and then it keeps looping around until it's done. So, for example, if AI inside the loop section is working on building a website, the other AI judge will judge it and it will keep looping round until the judge says this is the best quality it can be. So we have a few systems for loops inside the agent OS for that. Back in 2 seconds. Back in the game. For me, I'll use a dash pass best. Just measuring tokens, not time. That makes sense, actually. Dash lane it is. Today, I'm just going to break down what we're doing with AI SEO recently to get more traffic and more leads to our website. And I'll just show you a transparent view of like what's working, what's not working, what we've done so far, the systems we're using, how we're using Claude, etc., to help us. So you can see an example. This is the AIprofitboarding.com, and it's doing pretty well. It's grown from like zero pretty much all the way up to I think recently about 200 clicks a day, something like that. And it's sort of it goes through these spikes. This is something you're going to notice with just SEO in general. If you're growing a website, is it does go up and down like a yo-yo all the time. It's never going to be like a straight line up. So you can see it's like dipped recently, but overall doing pretty good. And one of the interesting things about this is like it seems pretty easy so far to like rank these new websites that we're building out. So for example, if we type in like best open core community, you can see number one, we're ranking inside the Google AI overviews, and it seems pretty easy to rank inside Google AI overviews as well. So you can see here it says the Open Claw Lab school community, and then it actually links out to the AI profit boardroom, which is pretty nice. We keep scrolling down here, you can see us ranking over here as well. And you might say, well, how do you create the content? How do you create the website? Where do you start with this sort of thing? I'll come on to that in a second. So if we have a look as well down here, you can see us ranking on the first page here. And yeah, these are some of the systems that we're using. So if we keep going through here as well, you can see another website. I will show you there's some websites that have taken a hit. So, you know, I just want to be like honest and transparent with you. You can see another website, like it's grown from literally zero all the way up to I was getting like 50 clicks a day, something like that, 60 clicks a day sometimes. So these are some of the websites that we're building. One of the interesting things that I've noticed across all these, like for example, this one, it's growing, but it doesn't have that much traffic per day. It's getting like maybe 15 clicks a day, something like that. This one is not a brand. And I think that if you look at the AI Profit Boardroom.com, that is definitely getting more traffic and ranking faster. And I think the reason for that is like, even though we're creating and targeting the same keywords across each website, I think that one of the biggest differences is that a lot of people are searching for the AI profit boarding, which number one increases the SEO traffic, but number two helps the website rank because Google's like, oh yeah, it's AI profit boarding. Like everybody searches for that. It must be interesting to other people. Here's another example. So this website right here, it gets a lot of branded traffic as well. And you see like the traffic is growing really nicely. So, I mean, number one, it is possible to grow websites from zero pretty quickly. Here's an example of a website that got absolutely flattened. So this website here, basically, I think what happened here is I've been testing different things. And this is actually why we've cut our human team, because for SEO, particularly for content creation, it seems like Claude is way more consistently valuable than having a virtual assistant or someone on your team just following a step-by-step operating procedure. What I mean by that, for example, if you look at this website, like it was growing, and then boom shakalaka, I think one of the updates came out and just clapped it completely. Right? So that's why it's basically like nothing. Now, if you look at this website, what happened here is like we were creating a lot of content for this site, and I think it was too much, and also the content itself didn't look very good. So if you look at like the quality of the content, and again, this was done with a human, a human team, a team using like AI to help them, but it was a team that of humans. Whereas if you look at, for example, like the AI Powerful Boardroom, that was just a complete AI automated website. So if we go back, we'll have a look at some of the content we created a while back, and you can see, for example, if we look at this content. So this is from end of May, as you can see here. Like if you look at a lot of the titles, they're not very relevant to the topic that people are writing about. And then also, when you look at this particular page, you see how there's just random CTAs inside the content. And additionally, like the title and everything else is just not that relevant to what people are searching for. So, for example, if we go over to Google here, and we type in like Gemini Spark, and we see, okay, what are people looking for? What's the search intent behind this keyword? You can see, for example, like this is what it should be about. So, for example, what is Gemini Spark? How does it work, etc. Whereas if you look at the title that's been created for this particular page, it's kind of been neglected a little bit. Like it's just not that strong as a title. It's not about it, when someone's written the content, they've not analyzed what is the search intent. They've just blasted out a title, blasted out the content, added some case studies in between, but it's not that relevant to the topic. So I can understand why it's not ranking. Whereas, for example, if you have a look at this is interesting as well. If you look through this content, can you see anything on the page? And I know it's hard when I'm scrolling through it, but can you see anything on the page where we have actually added unique information gain about something we have tested personally because I can't see it. So if you look at all this content, like an AI could write that. And if an AI could write that because it's not personalized and doesn't have any case study data behind it, there's no information gain, right? There's nothing new when it's being indexed on Google. If there's nothing new when it's being indexed on Google, it's really not likely to rank at all. And so that's something that I've noticed from a lot of the human content we've used. We've not really added our own detail inside there. Whereas, for example, if we have a look at the AI Profit Boardroom and we look at the website we've created here, which is where we basically add we create content using unique case study data because the agent creating the content follows a process. Whereas, for example, if you look at Goldie Agency, someone has looked at the process, create the content, but not used it, if that makes sense. So, for example, if we look at this page, right, Hermes Agentic OS, and then we look at this page here, what you can see here is that it's actually talking about a dashboard that we've created. And the CTA, even on the page, is relevant to the topic as well. So the AI really understands search intent better than most humans who would create content for you do, which helps you rank better on Google and helps you get more traffic. So if we have a look, for example, at the titles, Hermes Apollo, that is something unique to our system, unique to our Hermes dashboard. You can't find that anywhere else. It's information gain. It's based on our case study data. It's unique. You will not find that on a lot of the content on Goldie Agency. But when the agent creates the content, because they're using case study data behind it, then they're making everything on the page unique to us, which means that it's more likely to rank. It's more useful for someone browsing it. So if we actually type in this keyword on Google and we see if we're ranking for it now, you can see that actually the Claude based website is ranking. And we only created that like a couple of weeks ago. So there's a big difference between using a human and having an agent do it for you. And you see, what I would say here is like, what one thing that's been a huge advantage for us when we're creating content across the newer websites that we've created is that we don't need to rely on humans following the process. And I've noticed this, for example, even like on having a sales team as well. Quite often when you have a sales team, like they won't follow the step by step operating procedures that you build for them. They'll kind of cut corners or like they'll go off script or they won't follow the systems that you give them. Whereas if you had, for example, like a sales agent or a sales page, would follow the process every single time. And so this is something I'm finding with SEO as well. Is like it's just easier at this point to have Claude do it all for you rather than have a human team do it for you. So if you're like at this point where you're like, okay, I don't know whether to hire someone or just get AI to do the content for me, I would just get the agent to do the content for you. And the way that we do this right now, we were talking about information gain and everything else, is we have this agentic operating system where you can go into the SEO section, you can type in a keyword that you want to rank for, you plug in your unique case study data and information gain, and then you can generate the articles that way. And that's way more powerful because you can deploy content following a system that's unique to you, personalized to you, and actually much more likely to rank. I think that's way easier to use, way more powerful. Whereas, for example, if you give a human the task to follow, as sad as it is, they won't follow your process. They're not going to use your systems. They're just going to they'll probably use it for the first couple of days. You might quality control them and give them a bit of feedback and then they get back on track. But eventually, it will either become too energy draining for you to track and manage a human, or they will just stop following the process, or sometimes it's too late. By the time you've caught it, they've already sort of tanked your website. So that's why I just use this system instead. I think it's way easier and way faster to do. So yeah, and we're actually one thing we're testing right now is creating lots of mini sites, targeting lots of different keywords, and testing out if they're going to eventually rank. This is something that we did first of all in the AI niche, and now we're going to do it in the SEO niche. Excuse me. So why are we doing it inside the SEO niche? Because it worked really well with the AI profit boardroom and the AI websites that we created. So we're like, okay, let's try it in the AI niche and create like maybe 10 websites in the SEO niche, see if they start to take off. And what's happening here is quite interesting. Is like the impressions are beginning to rise, which is kind of like a lead indicator that the traffic will begin to increase later as well. So at this point, you might be wondering, okay, like how do you create the website? I mean, again, this is another website we created from scratch on the 21st of May. And then boom, look at that. Traffic just increased over time really nicely from 0 to 28 clicks a day in the space of a month and a half between the end of May and early July. Now, you might say, okay, well, how do you create the website? I would recommend that you use Claude to do it for you. And if you're wondering how to do that, you literally just go into Claude and say, like, hey, create a website in this niche for these keywords, and it will just begin building out. You might also say, okay, how do you actually host a website? Where do you host a website? So for me, I use Netlify. Netlify is really good because you can just give your personal access token from Netlify directly to Claude, and then Claude can agentically post the content for you. I think that's much more efficient than just logging into WordPress and that sort of thing. You might also say, okay, well, how do you find the keywords? For me, at this point, I've just really stopped using Ahrefs or anything like that for keyword research. I tend to rely on the auto suggest of Google, mainly because we're targeting like trending keywords. So if we're in the AI niche for the AI profit boardroom, then if we're trying to rank for keywords around Hermes agent, we're going to be looking at different keywords around Hermes agent that we could rank for. They're inside the Google auto suggest, and you won't find those inside um, Ahrefs. You've got to kind of like search for them in the auto suggest. And what we also try and do is we target those keywords not just with blog content, but also video content. And it's quite easy to create like an AI avatar that can rank your content as well. But it just means like with Google, it seems to favor videos as well as blog content. So if you can do both, then you're much more likely to rank and get more traffic that way as well. So you can see, for example, we are ranking over here. We're also ranking over here. And we are ranking over here and also there, right? So like 4 times on the first page of Google for that particular keyword with multiple pieces of content across multiple places. Now, this brings me on to another interesting point, which is that a lot of SEOs I know who were previously doing link building or, for example, doing content or building out their own like sort of own niche websites as well. They're instead like focusing more on creating content with parasite SEO. And we started interviewing a lot, like a new SEO pretty much every single day to see, what's going on in the industry. You can see the channel right here. And for example, Jitendra and Charles, they're both focused on parasite SEO. And I think this is something that's becoming wider and wider spread. And the reason for this is like quite often you could wait. For example, if you look at this website, we created this end of May and it's beginning to get impressions and then it's kind of fallen flat and eventually it will get traffic. But you could do that, or you could create content, for example, on Reddit and like rank it within a day. So, for example, if we have a look at the Reddit AI SEO Insider, this is our subreddit, and we can create content that ranks with this subreddit very, very quickly. So, for example, if we are targeting like Hermes Agentic OS, I'm just going to show you that because I know Reddit is ranking for this. You can see here that we're ranking for that particular keyword using Reddit. And so it's like, okay, well, you have a choice. You can build out a website that could tank at any moment, or you could publish content on Reddit and rank it really quickly. And it's like, okay, well, what choice do you have? So for me personally, I try to rank across everywhere. And I think that helps with the AI because it's looking at the top 20 or 30 placements anyway. So if we rank with video and then we rank with a blog post and then we rank with Reddit and they all say the same thing, then you're much more likely to rank inside Google AI overviews, which we are here and here. But also, it means that if one of our websites tanks, it's not really an issue. Like when, for example, that Goldie agency website we showed you tanked, then we could switch to a different method, and we could just keep switching around depending on whichever platform is ranking. And the other thing that I have seen is like SERPs are very, very temperamental right now. So when I was interviewing a lot of other SEOs as well, like I showed you before, a lot of people are seeing like the SERPs flip all the time. So like you might have a piece of content that you've created somewhere, doesn't rank at all, but then a new update comes out and all of a sudden it's ranking at the top. So that's something interesting too. So yeah, lots of cool experiments going on, lots of good rankings. I do think it's more obvious than ever. Like the answers for doing SEO and how to do it are out there and easier than ever to find. But the biggest issue that you're going to face is a lot of work, right? Like posting across multiple different platforms, creating content at that sort of scale that's actually quality controlled is a lot of work. And the final thing I would say here is like, of course, backlinks make a huge difference. So, for example, the reason that Reddit ranks so well is because it has a super high domain rating. Now, why does it have a high domain rating? Because it's got a lot of backlinks. What does that mean in reality? It means that because it's got so many backlinks pointing to the website, it's much more likely to rank because Google sees it in authority. All of these backlinks are just votes to say that your content is good. And that's why parasite SEO and these other types of SEO are working really well. And you can see, for example, our subreddit. So this is our subreddit. This is ranking for loads of different keywords, getting awesome traffic, as you can see right here. Ranking in the US as well, and getting traffic from some really nice places. So I think Reddit works really well. A few people have said like they struggle with AI visibility as well. For me, I don't really pay much attention to the AI data inside Ahrefs. I think that again, that could be quite old, but it would be interesting to check. The other thing that you can do here is you can actually go to Search Console. Inside your Search Console, let's have a look as an example here. And they do have an AI section here where you can check how you're ranking across AI, not just within Google as well. But it is limited to just Google AI reviews as well. You also see here that you can see your top content. So you can see which pages are trending the most, which ones are getting the most views, the most clicks, etc., which is pretty useful. So you can see, for example, most of these pieces of content are around Hermes, which is interesting. And so if I was to create more content, what I'd focus on, well, it looks like Chinese AI and Hermes are the two topics that are getting the most traffic. You can also see like your traffic and sources and everything else. You also see pretty interesting. We've got some image search as well. So if you're not adding images to your content, definitely worth doing because you can rank that too, and you can get more traffic for that as well. So that's basically all the systems that are working, just documenting what I'm working on, how it's going so far, being transparent with you. Not all those websites did well, and we've learned from it, but we'll get better. That's part of the game. Also, if you check out the SEO section inside our agent operating system in the AI Profit Boardroom, you'll find loads of cool stuff. So we have like the research section here where we can get our Google Search Console, look at the latest dates, run the research here. We can also use for example, we've got SEO Office plugged in. We can generate content across our multiple websites. And there's some really good functions inside there, not just for SEO, but also for AI. And we have a video agent inside there as well, which is how we can create video content pretty quickly. So if you want to get more training on this sort of stuff, you can get it inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description, or go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. And you can also check all of the content. We've got lots of good trainings and stuff like that. Also, one thing that I've noticed is like in the past, Google, sometimes when it clapped a website, it would get de-indexed. I haven't seen anyone's websites getting de-indexed for quite a while now, for like 2 or 3 years. So so far, not any issues with that. But I do think like, they basically make your website invisible anyway if they clap it, as you saw with some of the websites we added. Also, one thing we're testing out with those websites is like trimming the content and removing all the stuff that doesn't actually get views or traffic or clicks or impressions, so that we can just trim to the best content that actually gets traction. So that'll be interesting to see if it helps lift up the traffic and raise it more on the websites that are not doing so well. So thanks so much for watching. Yeah, if you want to get more training on this stuff, you can get it inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Inside the classroom here, you can get our best trainings on AI SEO. We've got the Agent OS system over here. You can ask questions inside the community and get help and support whenever you need it. And then inside the calendar, you can jump on weekly coaching calls, get help and support whenever you need it too. Inside the map, you can meet people in your local area. There's loads of SEOs inside this community, and you can get that all inside the AI Profit Boardroom, along with the ability to DM me as well whenever you need to. Now, if you want a free SEO strategy session, where you want us to look at your website, give some ideas, show you how we take websites from zero to thousands of traffic based on what's working for us. You can get a free SEO link building acceleration session, link in the comments description. And on that call, we'll look at your website, give you an SEO domination plan, discover the secrets of link building on that call as well. We'll answer any questions you have one to one. You'll learn the best link building strategies for your website, plus how to outrank your competitors based on what's working for us. So feel free to get that. That is a free SEO strategy session as well. Let's see what we got inside the questions here. What's your yeah, I would say, videos is probably the best. What parts of my business am I still using VAs? Just like is the stuff where you're clicking buttons. So for example, there's some stuff you can't automate when it comes to analytics, particularly on school. And so we have virtual assistants that give us a daily update on that. Does your agentic OS also develop the topical map? No, but we might do that in the future. Might add that in the future. Per your SEO workflows, yeah, as I said, I haven't seen anything where you know websites have been de-indexed for quite a while. But with the systems that we have, even if that did happen, because we've got so many websites and so many different places that we create content, it doesn't matter because we've diversified so much. How to do lead generation. So we actually, this is what I recommend. So we have the lead generation system inside the agent OS over here. So if you go to Hermes and then outreach, you can actually automate the lead generation by just typing the leads that you want. It'll find a list automatically for you, enrich the leads for you. Then you can go to campaigns, you can draft the email campaign and send out the emails and manage your email campaigns as well. So it's like a full lead generation system that you can have inside one place. And you can track the analytics over here as well inside the Agent OS system. And that way, it's quite easy to just have all of your agents in one place and automate lead generation at the same time. All right, back in a sec, peeps. If I had to pick one, I would, between two different AI assistants to make updates to my website, I'd pick Claude for sure. Claude is the best. So for analyzing non-videos, like that sort of thing, I haven't seen anything good for that, honestly. Like, there's not a lot of good stuff for that. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything good. I'm not seeing any good skills or anything like that. You can use /learn with Hermes agent, but overall, nothing like super useful when it comes to that sort of stuff. So today we're going to be testing out GPT 5.6 plus Codex to see how it goes. If you're not sure what Codex, I mean, it's rebranded to ChatGPT first of all, so it doesn't seem to be called Codex anymore. It is called ChatGPT, and then you can see over here we have we can switch between the different settings. So we can go from faster to smarter over here, and then we can get started with building with this. So if you're not familiar with Codex or ChatGPT, as it's now called, then you can see an example over here. So for example, if we wanted to start a new project from scratch, we can go to new task, click on new project, start from scratch, start building out with this. So example project. And then what I'm actually going to do over here is just have a look with Claude and see, okay, what can I build today that would actually be useful? So I'm going to say, okay, and in the meantime, whilst it's doing that, I'm just going to try this inside ChatGPT. So we'll say create a new website for the AI profit boardroom community. And actually, what I'm going to do is go over to sites over here. Then we're going to click on create. And from here, we're going to plug in the details. So they actually have like a separate section just for creating websites over here, which we'll try right now. And then we can just hit enter like so inside ChatGPT, and I'll just give it some information that it can use from my existing website so that it can create a better version now. Example of existing version now, attached. And then I'm also going to increase the effort here just to get better outputs from this. So we're going to try Sol extra high. And try this out. So you can see it's now working as a task. And we can also pin that so we can have it for later. So we can save that for later, as you can see. So it's pinned right at the top. Because like what I've noticed is inside Codex, it's a little bit hard to navigate between them all and that sort of thing. So in the meantime, let's see what else we could do here. So we actually created out this habit tracker website as well. And we can open that up in ChatGPT or inside Chrome, whatever we want. So let's have a look at this inside Chrome. See what it's like. Pretty nice design, isn't it? Let's check it actually works. Read for 20 minutes. Yeah, actually works, doesn't it? So, I mean, you're at the point now where you can basically build whatever you want using this system. Super easy to do. And you just type it in one step at a time. So we can build apps, tools, games. Let's see what we've got over here as recommended builds. So daily automation builder tracker. Let's try that one. So we're going to go back into Codex. We've already created a website. We've got another website being built over here. One other thing that I would like to test out is computer use. So if you're not familiar with this, basically you can type at computer, you can get Codex to control your computer in the background and type and that sort of thing. So if we go inside here, we're like, right, computer use, check out, and I'll give it a link to school, see if it can navigate our free school group. Check out school and post a link or post a new post about how to use Codex with GPT 5.6. Plus what you can do with it. Let's see if it can actually do that. So we can trigger computer use, which means that Codex can start using computer use, start using our computer, start posting with it. And you can see the preview over here. Now, if you actually want to have a look and open up, you can just click on that. Let's see how it performs. I think that can just work in the background there. So you can see what it's doing as a preview over here. And then if we go back over to school, you can see that it's now started typing. So my cursor is moving side to side here, but you can see ChatGPT's cursor is navigating the page directly. So it can work in the background. Seems pretty good for computer use. And it does seem a little bit slow here. And it says like posting publicly on your behalf as Julian. Shall I publish now? I'm going to say yes. And we'll see if that actually works. So it says I'm entering the finished copy and publishing now. Doesn't seem to be typing anything, but let's see. So it's planning it step by step. I mean, to be fair, for a post like this, it's super slow, but I guess you could just schedule the task in for later using the scheduled tasks. And then you don't even need to be at the computer to do it. Like it's just running in the background and doing this for you. Now it's typing it in. I think, see, we can see the preview over here. So it's added the title and the post itself. And then it's clicking post. This is very weird. Can I actually do it? Now, if we have a look on the right hand side, we've got the pet, and we can see the different things it's working on. So it completed that task perfectly. Actually gave some really good tips. It's like, here's GPT 5.6 is here, 7 practical ways to use it. It's posted for me, worked perfectly. This is something that I've actually tried to get Claude to do before, and it didn't work very well. I'd say this example is way better. It's actually personalized it to me, so it knows I do SEO, and it's used that as an example. And then it's added the process over here. So that completed the task perfectly. Really nice. And then it asks people to comment. That is crazy. And then the cool thing about ChatGPT with the pet is like you can see what it's working on and the different conversations. And then if you're doing something else on, for example, Chrome or another app, you can click back to it and see what's working on. So the great thing about that is it's easy to manage all your projects in one place and see everything that's been done. So we've covered building websites, computer use as well. Pretty nice. Let's see what else we can do here. Have a look through the list. This is pretty crazy. So we can link Descript as an app, and then I think it can actually edit videos as well for you, which would be interesting and fun to try. So let's try that. We're going to add this now. And then we just have to link it. With the plugin section, there's so many different apps and tools you can link to Codex, which is pretty fun. I've never tried this before, so I'm excited to try it. So if we have a look here, it's just installing the plugin. That's set up, so let's try it now. And then we are going to say, okay, let's edit this example. We'll say, see my latest SEO video. And then what it's actually going to do is look through my videos, find the latest one, and then edit it for me as a video agent. So it should find this one, hopefully, but let's see. And also when you're using Codex, you can switch between different tasks. So you can, yeah, it's actually found it as well. Look at that. So now it's found the video and it's going to start editing it for us. That's pretty cool. All right. It does seem to have like some sort of error though. Let's see what we get in a second. So in the meantime, we can try something else. So let's say, for example, we want to install and get Hermes agent inside the GitHub working. So I'm going to take the GitHub here. We're going to Codex. Let's say install this plus make sure it works. Use ChatGPT Codex with OAuth to log into Hermes agent. So basically, we're going to try and set up Hermes agent logged in and use it through Codex. Now, actually, I've made a bit of a mistake there because I should have created a new folder for this. And for every project, you want to have a new folder. So, for example, if we've got this video agent working in the background, then we should set up this inside a separate task. So, I'm just going to do that in a sec. We'll archive this chat. And then we're going to add a new task. We'll set up the folder, new project, use an existing folder, set up a new folder, and then we'll say, okay, Hermes agent. Then we'll click open. Let's see if we can do that. So this links directly to the GitHub, and we're using Codex to help us. So now we have a video agent. We have Hermes agent being installed. We've got the website being created over here. It seems like actually if you've got the pet enabled, even though this conversation is still going, it doesn't show up inside the chat. So kind of seems like either there's a bug with that or it can only show 2 conversations maximum because that conversation is ongoing, but we can't see it inside Codex. Or maybe it only shows the projects where you've got a folder. So this is kind of more like a website task. So it just won't show it inside the pet. If you're wondering what the pet is, basically, if you go to your profile bottom left, you can enable or hide the pet. If you show the pet, basically, when you're working on tasks in the background, it will give you a preview over here. So that is being built out now. Let's see if it can install Hermes. Computer use tasks work really well. The website we're still waiting for. That seems pretty slow. You can also change the speed. So you can switch on 1.5x speed. It will move 50% faster, but it will use more tokens as well. So just bear in that mind. And it seems to be creating the site now as well. Now, also some other cool stuff that we built with Codex, and this is using our Agent OS system. So we have Codex plugged in here where we can have goal mode, we've got the chat, we've got a full workspace of everything that we've created. If we go to Goldie Bench and we look at some of the creations, GPT 5.6 is really, really good with ChatGPT. So, for example, if we go over to GPT 5.6 Soul over here, and Soul is by far the best model to use, especially inside ChatGPT app. It seems like really the app is like a super app now. It's no longer Codex, if that makes sense. But yeah, it can create some awesome stuff. So here's an example. Here's another one. This is a game that created. So I can create lots of amazing stuff, as you can see, and it's really good at building this stuff out. I mean, it's not quite Fable 5 level, but it's just up there. Let's see what else we got here. So we have a video that we've created. This was actually done with Remotion, but super nice video as you can see here. And Remotion is a free skill you can install to teach your agents how to use video and create videos. So if we go back to this chat now, we've got the edited version. So if we click on that, let's see what we got. So this is using the plugin. Yeah, so it's removed, like, for example, the filler words and that sort of thing. Can't see any major changes in that, but it gives you a breakdown of everything that's done so far. So, I mean, that literally replaces a human editor at that point because you've got this video agent that can access it directly and you just say, hey, make this, etc. We could also say, okay, can you add some nice effects plus animations, etc., plus make it look beautiful? Wonder if it can actually do that or how long it would take to actually do that for us. Oh, yeah, look, so it can do like the zooms and everything else, all these effects here. That is super useful. If it actually looks good, I think that will take quite a long time to come back, but at the same time, it's great. Now we've got Hermes agent being installed over here. And we have the website for the AI Profit Boardroom ready to go to. So let's open that up inside Chrome, take a look. Wow, that looks beautiful, doesn't it? That is super nice. And you can see here that it's also added the video inside the page too. So if we look at the old version, this is the old version. This was actually created with Opus 4.8, which was not too bad, but it's a little bit outdated. I think right now it could look a lot more modern and classy. This is the new version created with Codex. And you see how it's updated the style, the design, the way that it looks. It looks a lot more interesting. It doesn't feel like AI so much. It's got the CTAs and then also, yeah, the link to the website that we want to send traffic to, which is great. Additionally, I like the little effects here. So, for example, even the little animation, the highlighted words, it feels classy. Let's have a look at the FAQ, see if that actually works. Yeah, it does. And then it's sectioned it into layers. We can switch between these. We can click on these different arrows. But everything inside the design is just so much nicer, isn't it? So if you're thinking about use cases for this, how would I use it? Well, I think like it's great for example, social media content. I think that very good at video editing or creating videos. It can create beautiful websites or redesign your existing website. It's great at computer use. There's very little that Codex can't do. I think they've leveled up massively with this new update, particularly with GPT 5.6. So I think like it probably would be useless if you switch down to like the lower effort levels, but overall, fantastic tool. Really, really good. And by far the best update that we've seen recently. The other thing I want to say here is if you're using Codex, you can also generate images. So the way, for example, it comes up with these nice designs is it uses ChatGPT Image 2.0. And so we can use that inside our content when we're creating stuff with it as well. So that's basically it from me. If you want to get the full masterclass on how to use GPT 5.6, Codex, how to get the most out of it, all of our best training. We have a community with 4,000 members inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description or go to the aiprofitboardroom.com. Inside the community, you can post questions. I personally answer them daily. Inside the calendar, you can jump on 4 weekly coaching calls, get help and support in real time. In the classroom, you can get access to all of our best trainings and lessons. And in the map, you can meet people in your local area who are building with AI agents like you. And this is all available inside the app of boarding. Additionally, we've got lots of trainings on Codex. So for example, if you type in Codex inside here, you can see all of our best trainings inside the classroom. And then also you can type in ChatGPT. So if you want to learn more about ChatGPT, you can find all of our best trainings and lessons. And we have video tutorials plus step-by-step guides, as you can see, for pretty much everything that we've talked about here. So lots of great stuff that you can do with Codex. Really powerful tool, even better now that we've got GPT 5.6. And I'm excited to see what else we can automate with this. I like the fact that it works in the background and you can do so much cool stuff. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye. All right, peeps. That's everything for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.